Hi, and welcome to Module 3. I am coming to you live, well, as I record this, of course, it's live summer 2012 in my lovely basement office. And I'm excited to actually be making a video for you guys in summer 12, finally, rather than giving you a recycled video from the past. Okay, so what are we doing here? Well, I've printed out my checklist, and I'm checking it out. And I just want to show you, just to make sure you understand this, you know, on any wiki page, a lot of the stuff that I display in this class is done through a wiki page because it's so much easier than using Blackboard WebCT or WebCT Blackboard, which is also what we call CourseDen. CourseDen does not cooperate, and it's hard to work in, and it's hard to get things updated and put them up quickly and make them even look nice. It's hard to do in CourseDen. So I pipe wiki pages through my CourseDen class. You've probably noticed it. Even if you haven't, that's okay. Hopefully you're able to see them. But anyway, anytime you see a wiki page, for example, any of my module checklists, in the upper sort of right-hand side of my pages, you'll see this little bank of features. Edit, then there's the discussions, the thing with the bubbles, and then there's a comment feature if you're collaborating on that wiki. And that thing where it says 83, that's the revision history. That's the number of times that this wiki page has been revised. And then the ... is what I'm actually here to talk about. It's in the ... that you can select PDF. And so you can PDF the wiki page, and then you can print it really easily from PDF. So go check that out. And that way you have your checklist in a nice format that's easy to read and easy to mark up if you want. Some of you don't need to PDF or print things. You just kind of are able to look at it. You make a mental note in your brain, or maybe you write it down on a piece of paper. I don't know. We all have our different ways of working, but for those of you that want to print it, that's the way to go. It's a little easier than copying and pasting and throwing in a Word doc. All right, so what are we doing this week, this short summer week? Well, I want you guys to take a look at that My Technology Integration wiki page that is on your wikis that you've created. That page asks you to kind of pause for a moment and think about ways in which you can integrate technology in your specific area. And so I want you to try to go work on it a little bit. There's a few things that you'll want to do on that page. I'll go pull up one and just kind of refer to it. I'm going to look on the actual wiki example and kind of talk through. But if you go look at your My Tech Integration page, there's a few questions. For example, what forces put pressures on schools and teachers to integrate technology? What are the pros and cons of technology integration? And what are the essential conditions that I can influence? And these are some things that you can look back on some discussions that we've had in this class. For example, when you read the David and Cuban chapter on technology, and you've read Roblier chapter 1 and half of Roblier chapter 2, what I gave you is all I wanted you to read, but it's about half or maybe a little more of her chapter 2 of her book. And both of those have a lot of good ideas in them. And then you've probably come across some information when you're doing your researching using Galileo and using the web to look for your 5 tools for your particular situation. So you've been gathering some information. You've been asked to read some articles. You've read Prensky by now, or you're about to. Yeah, you've read Prensky. And, you know, while you have some of this stuff fresh in your mind, particularly the readings, I want you to come in and try to sort of jot down some things. Jot down some pros, jot down some cons. I just want this to be a place where you can sort of collect your thoughts about, okay, so I have all this stuff coming at me. Let's simplify it down to sort of some important points related to technology integration for me and my area. The technology integration strategy table looks like a monstrosity. It just looks like, oh my gosh, I don't even want to look at this. It's like a type of assignment, right? But it's pretty simple. What I want you to do is provide an example of one specific technology tool that can support the integration strategies. One of them being directed, any one of the 4 directed strategies. So there's 4. So D1, D2, D3, D4. Those are 4 different directed strategies where direct strategies are about kind of like learning skills and knowledge in a direct fashion rather than a constructivist fashion where it comes out of the student. So these are direct strategies. Pick one and then look at the types of problems that strategy would address. I even give you, we have a column here of example activities, And then I want you to pick a tool that would be an example of how you could support that strategy. Pick one of the C's. So the C is the constructivist strategies. Just pick one and come up with one tool that's an example of how you could sort of exemplify the use of that strategy with that technology tool. And then we have mixed strategies, because if you remember from reading in Chapter 2, Roblier and Doring talk about direct instruction or objectivist instruction, and then on the other end of the continuum, constructivist. So directed is where you're telling, you're almost like broadcasting to the student, here's what I want you to learn, here's your PowerPoint, here's some facts, memorize these. That sort of typifies direct instruction. Constructivist is where you try to pull things out of students, you try to ask questions, you try to let them bring themselves into the learning more. So mixed is somewhere in the middle, which I think is sort of a desirable place to probably to teach, because I don't think you can be either one, either directed or constructivist only, and capture the attention of all students and help all of them. So mixed then is in the middle. You're going to pick one mixed strategy. You're going to find one tool that exemplifies sort of that you can use that strategy with that tool. Okay, and so that's what that last column is for. Every other column, the columns 1, 2, and 3, well, that can just sit there. Okay, so it's not as gnarly a page as you think. You know, I did most of the typing and writing here, and you guys just have to basically input 3 different things on that chart. Okay, 3 different tools. Okay, so in this module then, why don't you go in and try to take a pass at it. Try to list out a couple of pros and cons to technology integration in your area. Try to name some forces that put pressures on schools and teachers to integrate technology. Look back in your readings. Look back in the David and Cuban article. That one's great inside of the discussion board. What are some essential conditions? And I have a list. I provide a link to that you can influence. What are the things that you can control in your school environment that actually, that would allow you to integrate technology? Because there's lots of obstacles. Like lack of time, lack of funding, lack of support, web filters, things like that. So I want you to think about what are the things as a teacher that you'll be able to control, or a speech-language pathologist in the school setting. And then maybe go and do one of these tech integration strategies. So it's not due right now. I'm going to grade this My Technology Integration Wiki page at the end of the course with the final portfolio. You're going to be reading Understanding by Design, Chapter 1, which is available through the Galileo eBrary. And then you'll want to make sure that you submit your readings page of your wiki to the readings Dropbox. We're going to start looking at movie making, fair use, and media literacy this week, because in the next module, Module 4, you'll actually make a movie, which is, for some of you, it's like, oh my gosh, I already know how to do that. If you already know how to do that and you want to do something else, let me know, because I think we can come up with some ideas for other things you could work on, other multimedia type projects that you could attempt if you're bored with movie making. For most people, it's still a pretty new thing that they don't do a lot, but I think that's changing pretty slowly but consistently, where we have more and more people that have already done that. Some of you have never done it, and it's much easier than it sounds. And so you can do that. If you've never done it and you're worried about this summer time crunch, then you need to probably just focus on doing the basic movie. Take a PowerPoint that you've already created and narrate it with your voice, and add some transitions and some effects maybe, and add some of the things that I ask for, and then publish it to the web and publish it to your wiki and be done with it. I'm okay with that. But if you've already, if you're beyond that, if you already know how to do that, then maybe you should do something fun. For example, make a stop motion video, which takes some time. It's not as easy as it sounds. It's actually some work too. It's fun, but it's work. Make a claymation video. Do some kind of video where you actually film yourselves. You could work with a partner if you wanted to, if you have some idea for that. So you can be creative. It doesn't have to be just straight up presenting or teaching. All right, so that's the movie making. So to prepare for that, I've got some materials I want you to work through and take the quiz over movie making and fair use. And go ahead and read the movie instructions. Don't start the movie this week unless you're ready to. Don't feel panicked or pressured to start either. I just put those movie making instructions in there to let you know, because I think it's good sometimes to read the instructions for an assignment that's going to come up later, so that you can kind of have those creative wheels turning and you're thinking, okay, what am I going to do for that? I'm going to think about that, over the weekend or something. And then Module 3 discussion is about the digital school. There's a New York Times article about a North Carolina school district that's got a one-to-one laptop initiative going on, and I want you guys to read that and talk about that in the discussion board. All right, let me know if you have any questions about anything, and I will see you all online.